This is 7 months old. This is from the Bucs. January 23rd, 2023. They had him on the slice. You probably haven't seen this because it's only got 9,000 views. So we're bringing it to you here. I need to know who the Carolina Panthers hired as a head coach.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Okay, what is up? I am back. We are on part 5 of the Dave Canales Who the Hell is Dave Canales series. It's actually called the Who is Dave Canales series, but hey, got to throw some colorful words in there. This is 7 months old. This is from the Bucs. January 23rd, 2023. They had him on the slice. You probably haven't seen this because it's only got 9,000 views. So we're bringing it to you here. I need to know who the Carolina Panthers hired as a head coach. And of course, like I've done every part of this series so far, congratulations, Dave Canales, on becoming head coach of the Carolina Panthers. I really hope you can do something here, buddy. Before this gets even too crazy, shout out to the Bucs YouTube for bringing us this. Dave always looks prepared, super happy to be there, juiced as ever. So I'm super excited to see what he's going to say here.
So your coaching career started coaching freshmen in high school, I think, and then even community college and maybe teaching what you called last chance English at one point. Not the typical origin story of an NFL offensive coordinator, I feel like. So what got you from there to here, and how did that journey affect the type of man and coach you are at this point?
Leaving college, I wanted to give back. I learned so much as a freshman, sophomore in college about how to train, how to study, and really take football to the next level. And I really envied that for inner city Carson High School, where I grew up, where I played, just knowing that a lot of those guys weren't getting that type of training. And so that's where it started. 2 years in, my wife Lizzie goes, I think you're really good at this. We can take this.
Hey, shout out to his wife, Miss Lizzie, Miss Canales, I'm assuming at this point. But yeah, wow. It just takes that little push by a loved one. In fact, I actually started this because my wife, I constantly talk about sports. That's all I do when I'm hanging out with friends. You get a beer can and just talk about the games. And, I just enjoy it. So just like him, I appreciate my wife. He probably appreciates the heck out of his.
As far as you want to go, I got your back. And basically, the two of us just picked up odd jobs and try to make it so that I could be a substitute teacher and go and explore.
And I mean, hearing the passion you talk about it with, and also I think I've heard stories that at 12 you had a clipboard out coaching your neighborhood kids even. It sounded like coaching was this inevitability for you, but there was a stage where it sounded like tried not to do it, that there was commercial real estate and ministry with your family, and even,
Yeah, and the ministry thing is going to be something that Dave's going to talk about at length, basically. He is a very faithful man, which is great. Again, I think that's going to resonate greatly with the people of Carolina, both north and south. So
I hear boot repair at one point. This is an interesting little resume you have. I hope the boot repair made it into Bull's office on the application.
Yeah, for sure. No, but the boots made it to Tampa. So
see, we're going to have to see some of those.
I still
That's
have
impressive.
some of those.
That's great. So why did none of that stick? And coaching just was this thing that kept pulling you back when you had all these other things that you were sort of trying?
Yeah, so my dream was to open up a training facility. I wanted to go back and study, get a master's in kinesiology, maybe work on a doctorate and just train athletes specifically for football, but then also just.
hey, shout out to Dave for wanting to do that. Not a lot of people think about that. Not a lot of people think how much that can help players. And obviously he always has that dream to fall back on if he ever decides that coaching is, no longer his thing, or if he just wants a good side hustle. To be honest, with the knowledge he could attain from being a head coach and everything like that, he could develop a lucrative business post-football, of course.
Train any athletes that wanted to increase performance. The freshman, sophomore coach stepped down. And so the head coach, one of the parents told the head coach that what I was doing, and he gave me a call and said, why don't you just come and coach them here, and it kind of.
Dude on the left, far left, what an amazing haircut. I love it.
Sounded like, I just do it in my spare time. But once I got out there on the field, I realized, this is it. And that was where it really took off for me.
I mentioned in that last question about the fact that most of your family is in a ministry role, and your dad was a pastor for an incredibly long time. He just has such an amazing story. And I mean, growing up in the projects of LA and going to Harvard after having polio that affected
Yo, he went to Harvard after he had polio? Holy shit.
some of his movement and everything. I mean, what an incredible story. And what do you feel like looking back, the lessons you learned from him and how he impacted the kind of person and coach you are at this point?
I think it just kind of sent me the message, you know, the sky's the limit. And so for my dad, for my grandparents were both
Oh, shout out to them.
came illegally from Mexico into the United States and got citizenship through the Army. So all of their kids were American citizens. And so there's this story behind it that says, no matter where you start, if you can set your ambitions, set them high and go for it. My dad was a huge influence in terms of just having all the possibilities at your disposal. And if you work hard.
Hey, what a beautiful family, man. Shout out to Dave. Beautiful, beautiful family.
Enough, you'll find a nice niche somewhere and be successful.
So I'd love to hear, thinking about all of this and who you are, how do you want to define a Dave Canales offense, both in terms of the X's and O's, but then also the culture of it, of all these Bucs fans out there wondering, what is this?
Obviously, this is an older video. Again, this is February 2020, or I'm sorry, June-ish of 2021, or 2, sorry. Ugh. 2021, 2022. Jesus, I'm sorry. I'm behind right now. I need coffee real bad, apparently. This is June 23rd, 2023. Again, I'm just gonna let it play.
Offense gonna be? What's its identity? What would your answer be?
Our main focus would be, what can we do? And I'm more interested in finding out what are our best runs, what are our best passes, so that over time, at the end of a season, and in critical situations, the words that come out of my mouth from the call sheet are things that make these guys get excited. From the minute I met with Coach Bowles.
And that's a great thing moving forwards. Again, he's now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. So the thought process of bringing that in for a Bryce Young is great. And the fact that he brought that in for a Baker is great. The fact that he thinks about that for a Geno Smith is hopefully great. Well, I'm sorry, that was great. But how does it translate moving forwards with this new team?
His philosophy for what this team would look like, it was like hearing what I've learned, what's kind of in my fabric coming from Seattle, which is this team that plays aggressive, great defense, hair on fire, special teams, and then an offense that has an attitude by running the ball and by having efficient passes so that we can complete the ball, eliminate turnovers by getting the ball out of our hands, just being able to play that football that's connected.
What is the challenge of implementing a new offense and even, as you said, figuring out what everybody does well when you also have a quarterback competition going on? And how have Kyle and Baker sort of risen to this challenge, and how have they handled this transition time?
Now, obviously, he's talking about Kyle Trask and Baker because, again, this is the 2023 season. He's not going to have to worry about that in Carolina if Dalton decides to stay, or if we decide to retain Dalton. Dalton's definitely not the starter. The clear starter is Bryce Young. There will be no quarterback battle at all.
Well, it's really perfect because what I'm trying to sell to them is this is a system. And so if I can get these guys who are competing for a job to buy into the system, all they have to do is play their role. Just play your 1/11th. And let's become Bucs 2023, and we'll figure out who the best person is in the process, to be able to operate it.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Your wife wrote a book, and it was incredibly powerful and personal and vulnerable. And I feel like vulnerable is not something that we tend to say is one of the most prized traits in the NFL, or the one that most people brag about. So what was your why behind wanting to write the book, the why behind the kind of man and coach that you're wanting to be at this point?
Well, my faith is a big reason. So my big why just becomes really just, I never want to sacrifice the gift. I never want to sacrifice who God has made me to be. Upbeat, high energy, but why?
He is. He's upbeat. He's high energy. I even said at my original breakdown months ago, but I was like, man, he looks like he might have done a little, a little something. No, this dude is just built and wired differently. He's got an Energizer Bunny battery in his freaking back, man.
It's not just for me so that I feel good about it. It's so that the people that I work with come to a place that they enjoy being at. And knowing that these men are in such a critical part in their lives, but if I could just love them with everything that I have, whether it's this ability to help the pass game flourish, which was what's happening in Seattle, or now being able to just get everybody talking and communicating so we can grow. And then those little one-off windows of just the one-on-one connections with players as they're available, just that they know I'm available to them for any other conversations that may be bigger than football and outside of it. But those things were big enough for me. That drove me to spend a little bit longer studying this thing, because I know if I continue to have success, if I have success in this role, then it'll buy me more time to be with these guys. Let's just pour everything we have into them and say, all of who I am is at your disposal. And so that's been my commitment to Seattle, and it's gonna be my commitment here to this group, that whatever I got, they have it, and I'm gonna give them everything I have so that we can just spend those special moments and those windows together.
Hey, shout out to the Tampa Bay Bucs. But to be honest, that last part, man, you sold me. I was hesitant, okay? I was one of those guys. I was a McCown supporter, a Deuce Staley supporter, and of course, Frank Reich, Super Bowl winning OC. I mean, what else do you need? This dude right here, Dave Canales, man, he's going to turn a lot of heads. I think we called it in beginning of December when we thought Dave Canales would be a great possible hire. Of course, there was other great names and some that came out of nowhere, like Mike Vrabel. But I'm really happy the Carolina Panthers have a guy that's committed, have a guy that loves to be there, wants to be there for the players, and so much more. This is, again, I don't even know, part 5. Might be, yes, part 5. So make sure you subscribe to the socials below so you can check out all the other parts. We're also on all the podcasting platforms, so make sure you go check us out on all of those. I just appreciate y'all coming by. I appreciate y'all rolling with us right here on Roll Coverage. Peace.